Welcome to EnduringTechnologyPress.com. I'm Eric, and I'm surrounded here by the jars of canned food that I'm preparing to move down into our pantry after having canned them up over the past 2 weeks. And that made me wonder, it might be a little bit ironic that I'm pondering it at this time, does it really make financial sense to go and do your own home canning? And I think that can vary, and there's one big factor. Certainly there's upfront cost of your ingredients, and I think in nearly every case you'll find that is considerably less than what it would be in a can or preserve, unless you're buying, the little basket of raspberries from Little Red Riding Hood to make into jam. If you're buying the big cases of food that's meant for preserving, or buying stuff on a really great deal and preserving it, I think you're going to find the ingredient cost is well below the cost that you could purchase the stuff ready-made for. Second cost is your capital cost, your investment in things like the jars and the lids. Really, this is a long-term investment. Jars are cheap. Even Tatler lids, you paid for them more or less in within 3 uses, so they pay off very quickly. Then there's all the kit that you need to do that with. And you're looking at a good-sized pot to do some of the processing in, and then another one at least. You're doing boiling water bath canning to do the boiling water bath in. You're looking at some tongs for putting the jars in and out, and a canning funnel is nice. But all of that is really cheap. If you're going to go and do low acid foods, meats, things like that, you're looking at a pressure canner. That starts to get a little bit more expensive. So those are all the easy things to quantify. The biggest factor here, though, is time, right? How much do you really bill out your time? Are you charging out as if you were doing labor, or are you doing it for some other reasons, or at least partially for some other reasons? Whether it's interest, whether it's food quality, whether it's developing and mastering the skills of preserving food at home. If this is actually a labor that you're not enjoying, I think it's probably something that's not really going to pay out. And you might want to consider what you do in those cases. Something like canned salmon, or the other things that you pressure can, like tomato sauce. A lot of those, they take much longer to process in the canner, but much less involvement, right? The salmon, you cut that up, you put it in the jar, and you process it. Long processing time, relatively little involvement. Same thing with spaghetti sauce. Relatively little time for you to do it, especially if you have a food mill. Long process time. Not so much financial incentive when you do this, though. Good financial incentive when you do the canned meats or canned fish. Then there's the other things, that you boil in water can. Processed beets, quick and fast. Here's some lactic acid pickles we do. You don't even have to can those. Those are awesome. Everybody should be doing them. Really simple, really fast, really easy. Something like applesauce, again, if you invest in a food mill, very, very quick. Makes a lot of sense. Doesn't take much time. When you start to add more, you're looking at, again, something that's relatively low in time. Canning up fruit. Here's some canned peaches that we did. More time, particularly, was associated with things like jam. When you're doing those, you have to make sure that they don't burn. You're stirring a lot. And that takes time as you get the pectin to gel and come to the right temperature. If you had a stirring machine, there wouldn't be so much involvement. Maybe that's something that I have to develop. But that's a time commitment. The salsa, this is awesome, really pays off. But again, there's a little bit more of a time commitment with chopping the tomatoes by hand to make a chunkier product than you could get with the food mill, and then boiling it down for a little bit to develop a thicker consistency on top of the processing time. But really, it's about how much you value your time and the contrast of the skills and the satisfaction from putting away your own produce or stuff that you buy and put away for your family. So consider that when you consider whether you want to start out on the road to home food preservation and what particular things you want to preserve. So for more on this topic and others like it that aim to empower your independence, go to enduringtechnologypress.com. Thanks.